I mean, Syria at that point in time when we got the call, I'd been in before a few weeks earlier, and the situation was critical. I got the call again, Paul, go to Syria today. Get out there, meet Marie in Beirut. So we met up. We through the same methods, smugglers and bit of money passing hands, and very clandestinely crept through minefields and through the army posts into Syria. And essentially Homs had been under bombardment for, I think it was about 14 days at the time. And they were just trying to crush, they saw Homs as the centre of the revolution, the heart of the revolution, the Assad military forces. So they were just literally trying to crush it. And we could follow it. There were people in there broadcasting live images of the attacks. And it was kind of strange. You see this complete devastation going on, and you think, well, that's where I'm trying to get to, which is a strange feeling to see such devastation and think that's our destination. But we got in, and we went in with the Free Syrian Army. We got to Homs, and we had to crawl through a 3-kilometre stone sewage drain to get under the freeway into the city. So, and there was no oxygen in there, and they were taking weapons and bringing bodies out, and it was all in this tiny little tunnel that we had to go through. And no matter what position you got in, it was hell, because you're trying to find a position that it didn't hurt in, but because of the lack of oxygen, your muscles started cramping. And we just came out into, it was like coming out into Armageddon. You were in Homs, you weren't in the neighbourhood that was getting the shelling, but you could just see what was happening, the white flashes. So we reported from there. We got a story out one Sunday. We came out for a few days because we thought there was going to be an invasion into Bab el-Amra by the forces. And then we went back in again after a few days. We didn't tell our editors. We just sneaked back in. On the second trip in, the situation, even over a few days, had just deteriorated. The first day there, we could not leave the building. The shelling was, we were counting 30, 40 shells per minute around the building we were in. It was just, I've done a few wars, but this was the most ferocious bombardment. Both Marie and I said, I've never seen anything like this. We both agreed it was the worst we'd seen. But by the next day, we woke up and the shelling had intensified again, and we more or less knew we weren't going to get out. We thought, right, we've got a problem. We're in the middle of a story. 28,000 civilians trapped in this neighbourhood, and we're not going to get a story out by Sunday. We knew something was about to happen, and we didn't think we'd get out alive, to be honest. So we made the decision with we talked to the media guys, the activists who were transmitting and getting stuff out, that we were going to do CNN, BBC and Channel 4, do live stuff, because we thought if we wait till tomorrow, there may be no tomorrow. So we did these transmissions, they went out, and at 7 o'clock the next morning we woke up, got into the room. We were going to go try and visit the field clinic, and I had 2 rockets land about 100 metres either side of the building. 30 seconds later, another 2 rockets hit, and at that point, I was an ex-artilleryman. I realised that they were bracketing and walking the shells, and they had a drone flying above. And as I realised what was happening, the first rocket came into the building, and the room that Marie and I had both been sleeping in was just removed from the map, and I went, my camera's in there, ran back in, saw my bag in the rubble, grabbed it, and I ran down the corridor back to the main room that had no windows onto the street. And then another shell took out the corridor that I'd just run down. And by now the house was just thick and black. The explosives from the shells and the dust, and it was chaos. There were people that had been injured. Then another shell hit above us, and so part of the ceiling collapsed. And I thought at that point it was over. I thought 3 shells, it's done its damage. So I bent down to pick my camera up that I dropped, just about to get a shot of it, and then just an almighty explosion. Another one, but the biggest of all. Yeah, so I was still standing, and I felt something that hit my leg, like a piece of rubble or something. So I kind of leaned down and just thought, I'll check that. And as I put my hand down, my hand just slipped and came out the other side of my leg. So I was actually stood there with my hand through my leg, and I was like, oh, that's not good. But rather bizarrely, for the first 10 seconds, I was stood there going, oh no, hospital food. I was thinking rubbery potatoes and cold custard. This horrible image, and I was like, but don't worry, people can bring you food in. And then it was like, oh, I'm gone. Snap back to reality. So I thought while I was in my leg, I grabbed the main artery and checked that was pulled intact, and the bone, and that was intact. And then I had a keffiyeh scarf on, wrapped it around my leg, and tried to tourniquet it. And then it was like, oh, I've got to find Marie, because I thought Marie had got out of the building because someone had been screaming, get out, get out. So I took a few steps and my leg just buckled and I fell over. And I just fell next to Marie, who was obviously dead. I double checked that she was dead, but and Remy Oshlich was also dead. But in that time it took me to get there and fumble about,